Welcome to Prestige Stories. Tonight, we bring you a very detailed, in-depth narration of one of the most dramatic political battles to hit Capitol Hill in recent memory. This isn't just another committee hearing. It's a full-blown showdown where every word, every gesture, and every pause carried the weight of history. As we walk through every twist and turn of this heated session, you'll hear how the room transformed into a stage for a clash of ideologies, personalities, and visions for the future of American politics. It was a cold day in Washington, and the usually reserved halls of the Foreign Affairs Committee were buzzing with anticipation. The early winter light filtered through the tall, imposing windows, casting long shadows over the polished mahogany desks and well-worn leather chairs. The Grand Chamber, with the proud emblem of the American eagle watching silently from a wall, was no longer a place for quiet debates and routine discussions. Today, it was a battleground, a space where the political ambitions and personal histories of powerful figures would collide in front of a captivated audience. At the heart of this intense drama was Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Known for his steady demeanor and strategic mind, McCarthy exuded control from the moment he took his seat at the head of the table. His crisp navy suit and carefully adjusted tie spoke volumes of the decades he'd spent mastering the art of political maneuvering. To him, today's hearing was not just another meeting. It was a decisive moment to hold someone accountable and to reinforce the idea that leadership carries a heavy responsibility. McCarthy's calm and deliberate tone was a reminder that in Washington, every action has consequences, and trust is not given lightly. Opposite him sat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a woman whose presence in the chamber was as bold as it was controversial. Dressed in a deep navy outfit that mirrored the resolute tone of the day, Omar walked into the debate with fire in her eyes and a message that was both personal and political. She was not there to back down or to offer apologies. She was there to speak her truth. With a measured yet impassioned voice, she declared that she was not in the chamber to apologize for her identity or beliefs. Instead, she insisted that she was there to tell the truth about American foreign policy, drawing strength from her identity as a black woman, an immigrant, and a Muslim. Her words were simple, direct, and designed to resonate with those who had long felt marginalized by the very system that now questioned her loyalty. Like, comment and subscribe. As the debate kicked off, the atmosphere in the room grew even thicker with tension. Journalists, cameras, and microphones were everywhere, capturing every nuance of this historic moment. McCarthy wasted no time in laying out his argument. With a calm yet unyielding voice, he began questioning Omar about her past statements and controversial remarks, a series of comments that had been made over several years. He cited moments from February 2019, March 2019, and even as late as June 2021, insisting that her words had real, tangible consequences. According to McCarthy, this wasn't a debate about personal beliefs or cultural identity. It was about accountability. He argued that every public figure must honor the trust placed in them, and if that trust is broken, then the consequences must follow. For him, this was about preserving the integrity of the institution and ensuring that no one was above the law. Omar, however, was not one to be easily intimidated. With a steady gaze and a confident stance, she responded to McCarthy's pointed questions by emphasizing that her fight was never about her personal background. Instead, it was about exposing the unfair practices and double standards within Washington. She accused her critics of twisting her words out of context, using them as a way to silence dissent rather than address genuine concerns about the misuse of power. Her message was clear. She was there to bring attention to the influence of money and lobbying in politics, a subject that many felt had been swept under the rug for too long. In her eyes, true accountability required looking at the entire system, not just targeting one individual. Like, comment and subscribe. Throughout the hearing, the tension in the room was palpable. Every face in the chamber, whether it belonged to a seasoned politician or a curious journalist, reflected the high stakes of the moment. Some lawmakers sat rigid, their expressions a mix of anger and determination, while others exchanged whispered glances, as if trying to gauge which way the wind was blowing. The debate was no longer confined to the exchange of ideas. It had become a battle of wills, where every word was a weapon and every pause was loaded with meaning. McCarthy's careful, almost conversational tone was pitted against Omar's passionate, unyielding defense. The clash was more than a debate. It was a collision of ideologies, each trying to find what true leadership meant in today's America. As McCarthy continued, he brought up the issue of trust. He argued that a leader's words, when they sow division and doubt, could never be forgiven. He reminded everyone in the room that the very fabric of American democracy was built on the foundation of trust and integrity. His questions were methodical and relentless, each designed to peel back the layers of Omar's defense. He challenged her on why she focused her criticisms on one particular lobby when, in his view, there were countless other special interests, big pharma, the defense industry, unions, that were equally influential in shaping policy. His line of questioning was intended to show that her focus was narrow and that she was, in effect, cherry-picking issues rather than addressing a systemic problem. Omar, however, countered every point with a calm defiance that was almost poetic. She explained that when she spoke about foreign policy and the influence of money in Washington, she was not picking a side. She was simply calling out a long-standing injustice. She argued that by only targeting one group, her critics were ignoring the broader picture of corruption that had seeped into every corner of the political system. Her voice, though measured, carried the weight of someone who had seen too many instances where power was abused for personal gain. She spoke not just for herself, but for all those who believed that every action in Washington should be held to the highest standard of accountability. Like comment and subscribe. The debate took a dramatic turn when, almost as if on cue, conservative commentator Candace Owens rose to speak. Known for her sharp tongue and fierce opposition to identity politics, Owens entered the chamber with an air of quiet determination. Without raising her voice, she made it crystal clear that Omar did not represent every black person or every Muslim in America. Owens' words were simple, direct, and delivered with a clarity that left little room for misinterpretation. She argued that while Omar painted herself as a victim of systemic oppression, her actions and words had, in fact, undermined the very cause she claimed to champion. Her intervention was a stark reminder that in politics, one voice does not represent an entire community, and that accountability applies to everyone, regardless of their background. The addition of Owens' perspective further escalated the tension. Now, the debate had grown beyond just McCarthy and Omar. It had become a multifaceted discussion about representation, accountability, and the true meaning of justice. As Owens spoke, the room shifted perceptibly. Some lawmakers nodded in quiet agreement, while others appeared visibly uncomfortable with the direction the conversation was taking. It was clear that this was not just about one individual's controversial remarks. It was about a much larger debate concerning the values that should guide our national discourse. Omar's response to Owens was measured but firm. She reiterated that her criticisms of lobbying and the undue influence of money in politics were not aimed at any single group, but were meant to shine a light on a problem that affected every American. With each word, she stressed that true accountability meant looking at all sides of the issue and not simply singling out one community for blame. The exchange between the two women was one of the highlights of the day, a moment when both sides of the aisle were forced to confront the complexities of identity politics and the broader implications of their debates. Like comment and subscribe. As the hours wore on, the session evolved into what many would later describe as a carefully choreographed dance of words and ideas. McCarthy continued to press his point, shifting the conversation to focus on the very nature of trust in government. He laid out a timeline of events, meticulously detailing incidents from as early as 2019, when Omar's comments were first made public. He reminded the room that every word spoken in Congress carries a weight far beyond its immediate impact. In his view, Omar's repeated use of provocative language had gradually eroded the trust that her colleagues and the American people had placed in her. It wasn't just about a single statement. It was about a pattern of behavior that, over time, had undermined the credibility of the institution itself. In response, Omar challenged McCarthy's narrative by turning the spotlight onto broader failures of the political establishment. She questioned why the same rigorous standards were not applied to other powerful figures who had, in her view, contributed to the erosion of public trust. Her tone was equal parts defiant and sorrowful as she recounted the stories of countless citizens who felt abandoned by a system that favored the rich and powerful. For Omar, this was more than just a personal battle. It was a fight for justice and equality. She argued that if the standards of accountability were only applied selectively, then the very principles of democracy were being undermined. The room was alive with emotion as both sides laid bare their arguments. Every sentence, every pause, and every shift in tone was analyzed by those in attendance, from seasoned lawmakers to fresh-faced interns. The debate was more than a clash of words. It was a battle for the soul of American politics. McCarthy's voice, measured and cool, sought to remind everyone that leadership meant making hard choices. His message was clear. The decisions made in that chamber were not about personal grudges or ideological differences. They were about upholding the sacred trust that the American people have bestowed upon their elected officials. Like comment and subscribe. In one of his final rounds, McCarthy shifted his focus once again to the theme of trust. With deliberate precision, he asked a series of pointed questions designed to force Omar to confront the inconsistencies in her arguments. He questioned the selective outrage that had been displayed in the past and challenged her on why she had not faced the same level of scrutiny as other influential figures. His words were deliberate and unyielding, each one aimed at breaking down the facade of invulnerability that Omar had carefully constructed over the years. For McCarthy, it was not enough to simply speak about change. One had to embody the very principles of accountability, integrity, and trust. Omar, now visibly under pressure, fought to reclaim control of the narrative. She argued that her criticisms were not a personal vendetta, but a call for fairness. She spoke about the many voices in America that had long been silenced by a system that placed more value on power than on truth. Her words, although measured, carried the weight of a woman who had faced constant challenges and yet refused to be bowed by the pressure of political conventions. With a soft yet resolute tone, she reminded everyone that her fight was not just for herself, but for every citizen who believed that government should serve the people, not the other way around. As the debate neared its conclusion, the chamber took on an almost surreal quality. The lighting, the solemnity of the room, and the collective intensity of participants all contributed to an atmosphere that felt both historic and profoundly personal. Every word spoken in that room was destined to be remembered, dissected, and debated for years to come. The sound of pens scratching on notepads, the quiet hum of whispered conversations, and the steady gaze of cameras capture a moment when the future of American politics was being redefined before our very eyes. Like comment and subscribe. In the final moments of the hearing, Speaker McCarthy delivered his closing remarks with the precision of a master strategist. His voice, still calm and composed, carried the undeniable weight of finality. He declared that the decision had been made, a decision rooted in the fundamental principle that no one is above accountability. For him, this was not an attack on identity or faith. It was a necessary step to ensure that those who held power did so responsibly. With each carefully chosen word, he made it abundantly clear that trust, once broken, leaves little room for redemption. His final words resonated throughout the chamber, echoing off the high ceilings and solemn walls, as if the very structure of the institution had been forever altered by the events of that day. Omar, who had fought so passionately to defend her record, now found herself in a position she had long dreaded. The outcome of the debate was not a reflection of her beliefs or her identity. It was a stark reminder that in Washington, accountability is the ultimate measure of leadership. With her head held high but her spirit undeniably shaken, she slowly gathered her belongings and made her way to the exit. Every step she took was measured and deliberate, yet it carried the unmistakable weight of defeat. The room, filled with a mix of silent resignation and subdued relief, bore witness to a moment when a long-standing narrative was abruptly rewritten. The aftermath of the hearing rippled far beyond the walls of the committee chamber. Reporters and analysts immediately began dissecting every word, every pause, and every shift in the atmosphere. Across social media and news outlets, the story quickly evolved from a simple political dispute into a broader debate about the future of accountability in American politics. Supporters of McCarthy hailed the decision as a bold move to restore integrity, while critics decried it as an attack on dissent and a dangerous precedent for silencing opposing voices. The impact of that day will be felt for months to come, as the legacy of the hearing was discussed and debated in countless forums, from cable news studios to late-night talk shows. Like, comment, and subscribe. At Prestige Stories, we believe that moments like these are pivotal. They remind us that politics is not just about policies and laws. It's about people, values, and the enduring struggle for justice in a world that is often divided by fear and mistrust. The events of that day serve as a powerful reminder that in every corner of our democracy, accountability must remain the cornerstone of leadership. Whether you agree with the methods or the message, the story is a testament to the fact that the battle for truth and trust is never-ending, and that every voice, no matter how loud or quiet, has the potential to shape the future of our nation. In reflecting on this historic showdown, we see that it was much more than a debate between two political figures. It was a collision of ideologies, where old power structures were challenged by those who believed in the promise of change. McCarthy's insistence on accountability and responsibility was met with Omar's fervent call for justice and fairness, a battle that encapsulated the very essence of modern American politics. And as Candace Owens stepped forward to add her own voice to the discussion, it became clear that the fight was not limited to one person or one party. It was a fight for the soul of a nation. As we wrap up this extended narration, remember that the events we've detailed tonight are part of a larger story, one that is still being written. The decisions made in that chamber will continue to influence political discourse and shape the future of our government. They remind us that in a democracy, every leader must be held accountable, and every action has consequences that extend far beyond the confines of committee room. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for joining us on this long, detailed journey through one of the most memorable hearings on Capitol Hill. At Prestige Stories, we are committed to bringing you the full story in language that's easy to understand, so that every viewer can grasp the importance of what took place and why it matters. Tonight, we witness a dramatic confrontation where ideals clashed and the very nature of political leadership was put to the test. We saw a leader like McCarthy use his years of experience to enforce accountability, and we saw a congresswoman like Omar stand up for what she believes in, no matter the cost. As the lights dim on this historic session, let us remember that the debate over trust, accountability, and leadership in America is far from over. Each new day brings fresh challenges, and every voice matters in the ongoing fight for a better future. The echoes of today's events will continue to resonate as both sides of the political spectrum reassess what it means to serve the American people. And while some may celebrate the restoration of order and responsibility, others will continue to demand that every act of injustice be brought into the light. Like, comment, and subscribe. We invite you to reflect on this story, share your thoughts, and join the conversation as we strive to understand the true meaning of leadership and accountability in our nation. Here at Prestige Stories, our mission is to provide you with the most comprehensive and impartial narratives so that you can see the full picture behind the headlines. We believe that every story has multiple sides, and it is our duty to present them in a way that is both engaging and accessible. In the end, the dramatic events of that day on Capitol Hill remind us that democracy is built on the courage to speak out, the strength to stand by one's beliefs, and the relentless pursuit of truth. The powerful words spoken in that chamber, words that cut through the tension and define the moment, will continue to inspire debate and reflection for a long time to come. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching Prestige Stories. We hope this extended narration has given you a clearer picture of the events that unfolded and the stakes involved. Stay tuned for more in-depth coverage and analysis as we continue to bring you the stories that shape our world. Your voice matters, and every story counts in our shared journey toward a more accountable and just society. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more engaging content in the future. Thank you once again for joining us, and remember, like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on all our latest stories.